file this under the category, what could go wrong? 3, 2, 1. Please don't try anything you're about to see at home. This is for entertainment only. I have years of experience. I know what I'm doing when it comes to safety. I consult with experts, so please don't try this. So a few weeks ago, I was scrolling through YouTube and I got caught on a YouTube channel called J Laser Video. This guy is producing fantastic videos. They're so much fun. I highly recommend you go over and check it out. But one of his builds particularly caught my eye and something that I wanted to try. And he made a candy launcher. What I would like to do with this build is upscale it a little bit and make it a tennis ball launcher. This is totally new territory for me, and it's absolutely possible that I could fail miserably at this, but that's okay. That's part of the learning process, and that's part of the process of making fun. Whenever you build anything, whenever you start engaging in the process of creativity, you have to be open to the possibility of failure and not let your ego get wrapped up inside of the idea of everything being absolutely perfect and everything working according to plan. So here's a quick sketch of my idea of how this will work. Right here I'm calling the barrel, and the barrel is where the sled sits, and when you pull back on the sled, we pull back on these elastic bands. And then my hope is that we pull the sled all the way back to a trigger mechanism right here, which I have never designed before, but I'm really excited to try this for the first time. I'll have a trigger mechanism right here, and the trigger mechanism will hold it in place until we flip the switch on the trigger. Then when we pull the handle, that will release the sled, and the sled will slide down the barrel and hopefully shoot the tennis ball out the front. All right, let's go ahead and get started. So I moved my operation down to the floor because the floor is flat. Now I've cut this channel down both sides of my barrel here, and here's my slide that slides freely back and forth, and it can go the whole length of the barrel. Okay, so after this, put the rest of the sled together, and then we're gonna work on the triggering system. This is a really interesting process though, because it is like putting together a puzzle where I'm making up the picture and I'm building it piece by piece. So I have to think about the next 3 steps while I design this step, even though I don't know exactly what I want to do on this step, let alone 3 steps from now. So we'll see what happens. Progress has been going very well on this. I've had a few hiccups along the way, but ultimately I'm really happy with how this has turned out. First off, I've got my barrel set with these spacers underneath that are keeping them at a constant distance apart. And I have my slide, which is going freely back and forth really nicely. We've got plenty of wiggle room here, so it's not a tight fit. All right, so the next step is to get this trigger mount on and in place, and then attach my elastic bands, and we'll be ready to test out phase 1 of this build. Let's give this a test and see what happens. 3, 2, 1. All right, I wanted to give you guys an update on how things are going after last night's not so impressive test run. As I pulled the elastic back, about halfway is when I actually started feeling the tension pulling back on me. I have anchored this 2x4 to the table here, acting as a temporary cross beam for my barrel. And what I'm hoping is that the ball, when it hits here, is going to continue flying right out of the barrel. Not a ton of thrust, but I feel like I can get more out of this machine by having my elastic set up like a crossbow. All right, let's keep playing. For the trigger, what I've designed is I have this piece of oak doweling inside of this thick wall PVC pipe and this spring right here. And so the PVC pipe will be mounted to the back wall here with the spring on the inside and then the doweling on top. Then I have another piece of oak that I have grooved out so that the catch underneath the slide will hook and lock the trigger in place. All right, I am really excited. I have been waiting for this moment for a while. I am going to test my trigger system. So theoretically, if I've done everything right, I'm going to press down here. This slides in, snaps into place. It won't release until you press down on the trigger back here, and now it can flow freely. Everything is set at this point to test the trigger system. So what I'm going to do is load this up and let's see how this goes. If it goes smoothly, it's proof of concept, and then we can start working on expanding the types of elastic and building this up so that we can get more power behind the whole system. Woo! It works! It works. It may not go as far or as fast as I had wanted, but it definitely works. Now let's add some more elastic so we can get some more power behind this thing. So after a few times running this, we can see that it's already starting to break right here on this front piece. Wow, I was not expecting that because I glued and put 3 screws on each side, but it just ripped right off. A lot of force is coming out right here. It's just not getting transferred to the ball. Quite honestly, I've kind of had to eat my own words at the beginning because this has become very frustrating. I've had multiple breaks in the build, especially here at the top. I've figured out I think the best way to do this is to put the cross beam along the bottom here, and I've got a bolt that comes up through the bottom holding the whole thing together, and I've got extra supports on the side so it won't spin side to side. I'm really hoping that this will give the build the speed and velocity necessary to get the tennis ball to fly out at something other than just, well, a light spit. 3, 2, 1.
Whoa!
All right. A little bit better.
Dude!
Yeah, a little bit better than before. 3, 2, 1. All right, that was pretty impressive. All in all, I'm excited with the progress that I've made on this. The one major problem that I keep having, obviously, is that the slide keeps, well, sliding off. Everything I put in front of the slide seems to break. So I need to figure out what I'm gonna do to slow the slide down so that the tennis ball keeps going, but the slide stops. I'm screwing a metal hook into the back of the slide to prevent the elastic bands from slipping off the end. Later, I permanently attach one of the elastic bands using a 2-hole U-bracket. File this under the category, what could go wrong? 7 straps. Seven straps. 3, 2, 1. I think we've done it. I think we've done it. So I have this old project that I was working on for a while where I was trying to make a go-kart with a steering mechanism. And what I'm trying to do is augment it now so that I can put the slingshot on top of it so it makes it easier for it to wheel around. Here we are at the end of a very, very long process. This has been about 2.5 weeks now that I've been working on this, and this has turned out totally different than I imagined it in the end. But just to review, what we ended up figuring out is that the crossbow shape was more effective to get the maximum amount of thrust from the elastic bands. So now I'm out in this field, and I'm gonna do a few test fires to see how well this works. And we'll compare it to how far I can throw a ball with just my hand. So standing where the launcher is at, I was able to throw the ball about 50 feet. That's where that chair is right there. Now what we're gonna do is load up the launcher and see how much further we can shoot it. Well, that feels like a success right there. I am so excited that that worked. My goodness. I mean, after 2.5 weeks of work, and I gotta tell you that it did not feel like a success. 90% of the time, I had to change my design over and over and over again until I found what worked. But that's part of the engineering design process. We can't get fixated on one idea and not change it. And we also can't get our ego wrapped up inside of it working perfectly the first time. I am so excited that this works. Let's try it a few more times and see what happens. again, that feels like a huge success. I've shot it off 6 times now, and it's consistently going to the same spot. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Please check us out on Instagram at make.your.own.fun, or you can check out our website at makingfunshop.com. So I moved my operation down here onto the floor because the floor is flat and yeah. What else do I want to say here? I've cut these 2x4s as spacers that's going to hold my barrel in place while I clamp and glue and nail the whole thing together. Okay, so after this, I will be able really nicely because I've given plenty of wiggle room here.
You're good.
Oh, I thought you were about to say something.
No.